At the furthest southern regions of the planet, the chilling water in Antarctica can reach -2 degrees Celsius. If dropped into the water, even a goldfish, which can survive at low temperatures, would likely die of shock. Most fish have evolved to live in significantly warmer environments. In fact, about 1/4 of all marine life lives in and around coral reefs, which need a lot of sunlight just to survive. Despite holding all that life, coral reefs cover only 1% of the ocean's floor. But there are some fish, like icefish, that thrive in sub-zero temperatures. And a fair number of these sub-zero creatures happen to be among some of the most impressive sharks on the planet. The Greenland shark of the Arctic can live for at least 250 years, with estimates going up to 500 years. Another Arctic shark is the spiny dogfish, while salmon sharks are seasonal visitors. One of the major hurdles of living in the Arctic is the very real possibility of cellular damage. Cells are about 70% water, and when water freezes, it expands and can damage anything containing it. This will happen at about -1 degree Celsius as ice crystals start to form in the blood. But why don't these sharks meet the same fate as our goldfish from before? How do they keep their blood and tissue from freezing? How do they find food in the dark, cold, and murky water? How do these sharks survive in the Arctic? At about 8 to 14 feet long, the Greenland shark has a lot of cells to protect. Under the freezing ice, an incredible adaptation in the shark's blood keeps all its cells safe. Their blood has an incredibly high concentration of urea. It's a waste product of protein synthesis, which is when old proteins are replaced or new ones are built, for example after exercise. Incredibly, it also acts as a natural antifreeze. It lowers the freezing point of the water in the shark's cells. And in Antarctica, on the other side of the world, the icefish have devised an incredible solution of their own. Icefish have developed specialized antifreeze proteins which inhibit the growth of ice crystals inside their blood. Although Greenland sharks and icefish live on totally different ends of the planet, they've both evolved their own form of antifreeze. It's a beautiful example of what's called convergent evolution, when two unrelated creatures develop the same ability or adaptation totally independently from one another. But the Greenland shark has another trick up its sleeve that the icefish doesn't to help it stay warm in the frigid Arctic water. These sharks can't be called endothermic in the same way that you or a deer can, but they aren't entirely ectothermic either, like a lizard. Instead, the sharks have developed something called regional endothermy, which means that instead of keeping their entire bodies warm, they can keep specific parts of their bodies warm, most importantly, their organs. And there are other sharks that can do this too, like the short-fin mako shark, the salmon shark, and the notorious great white shark. It's even hypothesized that the largest shark to ever exist, the megalodon, could have done this as well. But there's another commonality that these sharks share to help them stay warm, and it has everything to do with their absolutely gargantuan size. In 1847, German biologist Carl Bergman noticed something quite peculiar about animals that could be found in both colder and warmer environments. He noticed that different species of an animal, or even different populations of the same species, seemed to grow larger in colder environments than they did in warmer ones. With a larger body, you have a smaller exposed surface area relative to your total volume. This allows for slower heat loss to the surrounding environment. For example, Arctic foxes have smaller ears and shorter legs than their desert relatives, and that means that they have less skin exposed to the cold. A larger body can hold proportionally more body fat, which acts as an insulator. That's why polar bears are significantly larger than their cousins the brown bear, who live further south where it's a lot warmer. Bergman's rule applies more generally to mammals and birds than it does sharks, but the relationship between body size and temperature is what we're focusing on. Unlike many large sharks, which migrate through different oceans and water temperatures, the Greenland shark lives in the cold Arctic year-round. That's pushed them to evolve into a very large shark. In fact, the largest one ever found was 24 feet long. They're the 5th largest shark in the world, after only the tiger shark, the great white shark, the basking shark, and the whale shark. Greenland sharks beat these others in one metric, however: body fat percentage. For a shark, they have quite a thick layer of fat, and they need to stay pudgy to survive in the cold Arctic. When maintaining your energy is the difference between life and death, it's wise to take things slowly. And no one knows that better than the Greenland shark, which has one of the slowest metabolisms of any vertebrate animal. The shark's hearts tick at just 12 beats per minute. That's 1 beat every 5 seconds. They also swim incredibly slowly, at an average of about 1 kilometer per hour, but when they need to be speedy, they can explode up to a whopping 2.9 kilometers per hour. Most sharks swim at a cruising speed of about 5 to 8 kilometers per hour. But the fastest shark, the shortfin mako, can swim at up to 70 kilometers per hour in short bursts. Being apex predators, these sharks don't have to be particularly speedy. There's nothing to run away from. But their slow swimming speed means they have to rely on ambush tactics to capture prey of their own. Their dark bodies camouflage perfectly into the murky water around them, making it easy to sneak up on unsuspecting prey. Speaking of hunting tactics, salmon sharks have an interesting one. The animals often swim in loose groups of up to 40 individuals. They're looking for salmon, which migrate through the Arctic waters during the warmer months of the year. It's how the sharks got their name. When they finally come across a group of salmon, they hunt them in a giant chaotic free-for-all. As the sharks keep coming in from all angles, it keeps the fish from swimming too far off in any direction, allowing the sharks to easily pick off weaker stragglers who can't keep evading them for too long. Some individuals among the sharks specialize in picking off fish from the shoal's edges. Others dive directly into the heart of the salmon, reducing the competition among the sharks for individual fish. But there's another trick at play. Both the Greenland shark and the salmon shark have a special sixth sense which helps them to find prey in the murky, cold Arctic water. Many species of sharks have special receptors called ampullae of Lorenzini, and they allow them to detect changes in the electrical field around them. For example, they can pick up on the electrical energy generated in the muscles of fish, as well as that created by the Earth's magnetic field. But they don't just rely on a sixth sense, their sense of smell is very well developed too. Extremely refined olfactory organs allow sharks to detect faint odors in the water around them. Their ability to smell blood up to a quarter-mile away leads them to carrion, bleeding animals, and other prey. With this powerful sensory combo, sharks can find food in even the harshest Arctic conditions and get a comprehensive idea of the environment around them. Speaking of harsh conditions, the water in the Arctic is a particularly low oxygen environment. Thankfully, Greenland shark blood has a high concentration of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the protein in your blood responsible for carrying oxygen. With more hemoglobin, and the help of the shark's particularly large gills, they can diffuse more oxygen into their blood and carry it to their cells, allowing for efficient respiration. That's just one of many of the incredible adaptions sharks have evolved during their 450 million years swimming in the Earth's seas. That's 190 million years before dinosaurs ever walked the Earth. And if you think that's impressive, in their time, sharks have survived through 5 mass extinctions. But even after 500 million years on this planet, there's one threat in the Arctic, and in fact worldwide, that even sharks might not survive. Humanity. Overfishing and bycatch is a significant issue for sharks across the globe, especially for Greenland sharks, which don't reach sexual maturity until around 150 years old. It takes a long time for them to develop their babies too, with gestation periods estimated being between 8 to 18 years long, after which the female's pups are birthed alive and not deposited as eggs. The despite having toxic flesh which can kill you when eaten, Greenland sharks are actually hunted in some Arctic regions. The meat becomes safe to eat when fermented and dried, however. In fact, this is a delicacy in Iceland where it's called hakkarl. Or at least it was once considered a delicacy. The newer generation isn't so keen on it due to it smelling strongly of ammonia. It's prepared by shoving it into the ground for several months and then hanging it. At one point it was a dietary staple in Iceland until modern alternatives replaced it. Now it's more of a cultural staple eaten at festivals and something interesting for tourists to try. The sharks were also hunted for their oil, but thankfully modern substitutes have practically eliminated any need for that. But there's an issue going on in the Arctic which affects Greenland sharks far more than any cultural practice, and that's the melting of the Arctic ice. Since satellite observation began in 1979, the Arctic sea ice has shrunk by 40%. With less sea ice, the shark's prey will have a harder time supporting their population, and therefore the shark's population. But that's not all. Even the most extreme regions on Earth can't escape waste and debris left behind by humans. Greenland sharks may be struggling to adapt to humans, but they're beautifully adapted to the Arctic environment as it should be. From their antifreeze-like blood to their enormous size, it's no wonder that Greenland sharks have become an apex predator of the Arctic. Here, they live out their lives spanning multiple centuries, where they will hopefully live to see many centuries more. I'd like to ask you a favor. You can help me to spread this video by just clicking the like button. It only takes a second and there's no commitment. It'll be really encouraging and let me know that you want more videos like this. Thanks for watching.